meeting. Here with me are members of the leadership of the National Transition Committee of the Labour Party. The National Transition Committee of the Labour Party is a group of fully paid up members of the Labour Party and the obedient movement who have contributed immensely to the development of the Labour Party throughout the years. Many of us in the National Transition Committee are gubernatorial candidates of the party, and some of us contested for different legislative offices in the national and state under the party. The National Transition Committee emerged after many all-inclusive stakeholder meetings following the end of the tenure of the Abure-led ESCO and the crisis which his corrupt and illegal administration imposed on the party. The National Transition Committee engaged and mobilized all relevant stakeholders to ensure that the party recovers itself from Abure illegality and corruption. That process bore fruit as INEK, the regulator of political parties in Nigeria, informed Barrister Abure that his tenure had expired and have made diligent effort not to recognize him as a chairman of the party at every meeting of the heads of political parties. In fact, INEK had on occasion asked him to vacate the chair meant for chairman of Labour Party. These interventions by the National Transition Committee has culminated in the meeting of the National Executive Committee of the Labour Party in Umuahia. We want to state unequivocally that the National Transition Committee, facilitated by the Nigeria Labour Congress, as the trustee of the Labour Party, fully accepts and commend the decision of the NEC of Labour Party in its meeting of September 4th, 2024, held in Umuahia. We fully support the setting up of a 29-man committee, Caretaker Committee, to prepare and conduct democratic congresses to elect party leadership at the world, local government, state, and national levels, in line with the Labour Party Constitution and the Electoral Act 2023. The NEC, organized by the governor of Abure State, is the most welcome intervention needed to save the Labour Party at this time from the illegalities and corruptions of the Abure hostile capture. We believe that this intervention is in line with the expression of the democratic will of the millions of Nigerians who are members of the Labour Party and its supporters, and who do not want the party to die at the hands of political contractors who have been procured to destroy the party. As expected, Abure and his affairs in the Labour Party, as a group that actually midwife the current positive results in the party, we owe Nigerians the duty to present the facts as they are to prevent Abure from running away from his corruption and illegalities, which INEK had recognized and confused the people on the present efforts by the governor of Abure State and NEC to get the party back to the path of legality and integrity as Nigeria's favorite opposition political party. I want to deliberate on item number 1, dealing with legitimacy of the Umuahia meeting. We want to make it clear that the stakeholders meeting held in Umuahia had every form of legitimacy and transparency. It was called according to the Constitution of the Labour Party, which bestows on the NEC the powers to file any vacancy, to fill any vacancy that exists before another convention, that is in between the convention. In fact, the meeting has an overdose of legitimacy and transparency, the sort of which can only come from the best leaders who live and breathe integrity and the rule of law. Anyone who is familiar with the event that has culminated in the party will know that Abure and Co. had no legal capacity to remain and identify themselves as executives of Labour Party. The tenure was ended long ago, and they continued to illegally hold on to power with a clear mandate from his sponsors to destroy Labour Party before the 2027 general elections. But we have ended that illegality and rascality. We have commenced a journey to retrieve and reposition the party through the Umuahia resolutions. We should not forget that our party was thrown into an all-time low by the greed and desperation of one man and his few co-travelers who want to be undemocratic leaders in a democracy, elected leaders without election and due process. Abure and his cohort violated court judgments and regulatory agreements signed by both the party and INEK. Unfortunately, they led our party to a dead end where for 3 months the Labour Party existed without INEK recognized leadership from June 9th, 2024 till September 4th, 2024 at the Umuahia meeting. The meeting at Umuahia is constitutionally valid based on the provisions of the Labour Party constitution. You all know that the valid Labour Party constitution is a public document hosted on INEK website. Article 14, Section 28, subsection 251 gives INEK power to fill vacancies in the National Working Committee as they may occur from time to time in between conventions. The expiration of the tenure of Abure's National Working Committee on June 9th, 2024 meant that they ceased to be members of the NEC from that date. But there are other statutory members of NEC whose tenure were still valid, namely the governor and his deputy of Abure State, the president and general secretaries of the NLC and the TUC, and the chairperson of NLC Women Commission. See Article 14, Section 2A, from subsection 3 to subsection 18. And the Board of Trustees chairman and secretary. See Article 9, Section 1C. Our leaders were required by Constitution to call a meeting of the 9 remaining members of NEC to appoint replacement for the vacancies in National Working Committee. But they chose to call the 9 NEC members in addition to all elected leaders, candidates in the last general election, and all major stakeholders, including even the expired National Committee members. In fact, the owners of the party, from the founders to all its leaders, from subnational to national leaders, akin to shareholders and board of directors in a company's AGM, that's what really happened. That is why I describe the Umuahia meeting as overdose of legitimacy and transparency, as it met and exceeded constitutional requirements. Number 2, on the formation of Caretaker Committee, it is laughable that Abure would raise objection to NEC stakeholders' appointment of interim leadership for Labour Party when himself is a double beneficiary of similar appointments in 2021 and 2023. In 2019, Abure was elected Deputy National Secretary of Labour Party. The National Secretary resigned and Abure became Acting National Secretary. Unfortunately, the National Chairman, Alhaji Abdulkadir Abdul Salam, died in 2021, and the then Deputy National Chairman, Mrs. Maria Lebeke, became Acting National Chairman. There was also a Deputy National Chairman South, Alhaji Lamidi Apapa. How Abure jumped from Acting Secretary to National Chairman without election and without valid NEC appointment remains a study in Gestapo criminality. So far, So for the records, Abure was never elected national secretary or national chairman, neither was he legitimately appointed chairman, as there was no constitutional pathway to migrate from deputy secretary to chairman. This will be a story for another day. However, his self-imposed emergence in 2021 was to complete the tenure of the late Alhaji A.A. Salam, which expired in June 2023. Notwithstanding the consent judgment and INEK brokered agreement, Abure deceived the new party leaders into appointing his National Working Committee for another one-year term, which finally expired on June 9, 2024. So, Abure's National Working Committee from inception to expiry, renewal and another expiry were caretaker appointments. First tenure illegitimate, second tenure deceitfully obtained, whereas the appointment of distinguished Senator Nenadi Usman's caretaker National Working Committee fulfills every aspect of constitutional due process and satisfies the utmost transparency. It is Abure who betrayed all due process and hijacked a political party without election. 3. On Governor Otti's role in Labour Party affairs. Abure and his gang attacked the role that Governor Otti played in resolving the crisis that Abure imposed on the party. Anyone who has been following the happenings in Labour Party will not accuse Governor Alex Otti of not showing sufficient, if any at all, interest in Labour Party affairs or of being against Abure. In fact, many would rather accuse the governor of being too pro-Abure. You recall that while Abure was building his castle on sand by conducting his illegal Nnewi convention in violation of consent judgment and INEK brokered agreement, and without any word, local government and state congresses, the governor was not aware of the illegalities due to his non-interference and distances himself from party affairs until INEK banned Abure and his National Working Committee, posing existential danger to Labour Party and all her elected officials. The governor, inclusive. Even at that, it took INEK invitation and directives for the governor to accept to fulfill his statutory duty as the highest elected office holder in the Labour Party and surviving member of NEC with constitutionally binding duty. So the governor has shown great restraint and respect for due process in his intervention. It is Abure who has mistaken commitment to rule of law for condonment of his corrupt and reckless conduct. 4. On concerns over INEK recognition. The most embarrassing event for Labour Party in 2024 was the day Abure was thrown out of the quarterly meeting of chairmen of all political parties with INEK chairman in INEK headquarters, Abuja, in June 2024. He had attended uninvited. He was also not invited to the August meeting, and he dared not attend again. By his own admission, in his famous speech delivered at the illegal NEC meeting of September 9th, 2024, titled, "The Beautiful Ones Are Not Yet Born," Abure declared that the access code for uploading polling unit agents for Edo and Ondo states were handed directly to the Labour Party governorship candidates for those states. These are usually exclusively handed to national chairmen of parties, but now given to our candidates because we don't have INEK recognized chairman. These and many similar situations led INEK to seek Otti's intervention to resolve the lacuna in Labour Party leadership. Item number 5, on the composition of the Caretaker Committee. Members of the new Caretaker Committee are representatives of the various core stakeholder groups in Labour Party, from founding labor unions to elected officials and governorship candidates in the last election, among others. The chairman and secretary are former senators and ministers whose experience and character lend a breath of fresh air to a party with badly damaged reputation, rooted in destructive reputation of its officers. Imperfection, if any, will be corrected in the most decent manner as expected in normal human compositions. The new chairman had been a card-carrying member of Labour Party since 2022, before the general elections of February 2023, and she had been contesting and winning state and national elections for decades before joining the Labour Party. Item number 6, on the nullification of the Umuahia meetings outcome by Abure. This is when nullity calls validity null and void. It can only be the ranting of a droning man. Maybe he was enjoying the void created by his indiscretion as a paid agent sponsored by opposition party to terminate the Labour Party. Otherwise, he must know that solution to this self-imposed harm should rank the party's interest over and above his personal interest, which, by the way, is not harmed in any way. For avoidance of doubt, Abure and his National Working Committee members are free to contest for any offices of their choice in the congresses and conventions being organized by the Caretaker Committee. Item number 7, on the Abure's loss of leadership control. It is mischievous that Abure refers to Umuahia meeting as the gathering that removed him from office, when the truth is that INEK had removed and de-recognized him since June 9, 2024. What Umuahia meeting did was to commence treatment on the terminal illness imposed on Labour Party by Abure and co. His utterances and actions since the meeting is a revelation of the dangers we lived with without knowing it. Item number 8, on Abure's fear of diminished influence. Those must be imaginary diminished influence because he has a choice: to toe the path of honor and quit while the ovation is still loud, or walk down the valley of dishonor by holding on to an expired non-existent office and sacrifice whatever influence and dignity he acquired from the office LP national chairman he held. Let me remind him that no politician in Nigeria, and I dare say Africa, drags popularity or influence with our party's national leader, His Excellency Mr. Peterobi, and Abure may do well to note that Peterobi was never as popular or influential as he is today while he was in office as governor. He grew in popularity and influence by his dignified conduct out of office, quitting while the ovation was loudest, refusing to collect his exit pension, legis, charity works, dedication to public good, among others, lifted him. A valuable lesson for Abure and co. is that influence is earned, not given or taken. And it is better to be a part of an elephant than the whole of an ant. More so, democratic chairmen are elected, not self-imposed. The chance to emerge elected chairman of LP is not diminished, but now more credible with the changes that are being introduced. Item number 9, on damage to party unity and image. The emergence of Nenedi Usman-led leadership for Labour Party has not created any parallel leadership for Labour Party. It is a child of necessity, born to fill a vacuum willfully created by expiry of Abure's National Working Committee without valid elections to replace them. This new leadership is strictly for purpose of organizing congresses and convention to elect new leaders for the party, an assignment Abure had opportunity to do, but chose not to until their tenure expired. It must be stated that Labour Party is bigger than any individual or group, and its interest supersedes those of any individual or group. Abure's dream of factional leadership of Labour Party is only imaginary, as he is standing with only those he had appointed unopposed at national and subnational levels. Unknown to him, even those are lobbying for accommodation in the new leadership followership. He will soon look back and realize that he is standing alone and lonely. Millions of Nigerians joined or became sympathetic to Labour Party because of Peterobi's huge, delightful profile and the good work Governor Otti is doing at Abure State. None did because of Abure and his gang. If anything, a lot of Peterobi's admirers had left Labour Party because of the negative influence of Abure. He will do well to bow out with honor and enjoy his constitutional entitlement of elevation to Board of Trustees, reserved for all former national chairmen without dishonor and criminality. These privileges, guaranteed by Article 9 of the Labour Party Constitution, will be extinguished by forceful exit and probe. We assure all members and supporters of the Labour Party that the party has been recovered from the illegitimacy and illegality under the hand of Abure. Now that a caretaker committee of the party members appointed legally by the INEK of our party to prepare and organize a democratic convention based on democratic congresses to elect party officials, we are now in the good position to mobilize and prepare Nigerians to replace the failing APC government and install a people-oriented and truly progressive government that will secure Nigerians and end the ravaging specter of poverty. It is obvious that Abure and his followers are working to truncate the progress of the Labour Party. They will fail because all actions taken at the Umuahia meeting, convened by the governor of Abure State and other remaining members of the Board of Trustees, are in line with the Constitution of Labour Party, the Electoral Act, and the directive of the Electoral Umpire, the INEK. We advise Abure and his cohort to be wise and come back to the fold and show gratitude for the party that tolerated their illegal regime and have not decided to cure the party of such illegitimacy caused by their illegal hijack of power. A word, they say, is always enough for the wise, as a stitch in time saves 9. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you most sincerely. Thank you very much. I have to really tell you that Abure is from Edo State. Ordinarily, it ought to be a plus for the party. But regrettably, because of the way and manner, he was running the affairs of the party, it really, somehow, impacted, very, very adversely. It took the party's leadership, it took the stakeholders, intervention to really begin to do a lot of remedial, measures, to resolve some of the crises that arising from that mishandling, of the situation there. But we give glory to God that, our leader, His Excellency Peterobi. Very early, in the case of Edo State, he really stood very, very strong and ensured that we pick up the pieces, and our party right now is a frontline, party in terms of all the indicators, that are coming out, from the campaign. We are far ahead of all the parties that are running in the gubernatorial election in Edo State. And our chances are the brightest. We are very, very optimistic of winning the election. All we are interested is to make sure that it is free, fair, and credible. And we believe that INEK will do that.
And I think, just to add, presidential election that held last year, Labour Party beat all political parties in Edo State. Labour Party polled 51% of the votes casted in the last election in Edo State, whereas PDP and APC put together got 47% of votes in Edo State. And so that means that Edo State is our territory. It is a place that the voters belong to Labour Party. And as God will have it, we have managed to present the best governorship candidate in Edo State. The former president of Nigerian Bar Association, Barrister Olumide Agbata, is head and shoulder above all the candidates that are contesting election in Edo State. Those who know, those who hail from Edo State, will tell you that PDP has mismanaged Edo State for the last 8 years, and before them, APC. Now, there are no passable roads in Edo State. There's no infrastructure of note there. And the best exemplary leader is the young man they refer as to their guy in Edo State, Barrister Olumide Agbata. And so the election in Edo State, you would have watched the campaign by our leader yesterday, and our belief and every indication on ground, all the political polls conducted today, has shown that Labour Party will win the governorship election in Edo State landslide. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You said? Dr. Chigbo Okoli.
So I want to ask, sir, as it stands now,
what is happening is that there is contestation inside the party for things to be done right. And there has been serious derailment that has been taking place for so long. And through the regulator, INEK, and the many strategic groups that own the party, attentions have been drawn to these maladies that have been dropped for so long. And now they are beginning to catch the attention of all concerned. And INEK has now taken the bull by the horn by ensuring that the rules must be respected. That is why the moment the tenure of Abure expired, INEK just showed the red line. And he was expelled or disallowed from attending the first meeting that INEK called this year for chairman of all the parties. I'm sure you had seen that. In August again, another meeting was called. He advised himself not to be there, as we highlighted in our own report, because clearly his tenure had ended, including the extension that was given to him. It has ended. And that is along with the National Working Committee of the party. So that is what it is, as per what the regulator is doing, as per what the law is saying, as per what our constitution is saying. In the absence of that leadership, his tenure had expired. Stakeholders are now working with INEK to ensure that no vacuum is allowed to take place. And that's why the NTC had been working to maintain leadership of the party. And that is what had been now really legitimized by the Abure meeting that just ended last week. And it is NTC, it is the Caretaker Committee now that is being assembled by the stakeholders in the NEC meeting that was held in Umuahia, that INEK is now going to really take steps to ensure that what the consent judgment and the INEK brokered agreement, had ordered should now be taking place. That is to say, go ahead to do an all-inclusive and expansive convention in which congresses will be held at the wards, local government, state, and a national leadership will emerge. And that is what the Caretaker Committee has mandate to do in conjunction with the Independent National Electoral Commission. So the party has no faction. The party has recalcitrant personalities who are not, respecting the law, and they are refusing to accept that the tenure had ended. And once they are able to be sober and accept that fact, there will be peace in the party.
Okay, sir.
Before